Suguru Getou is a former student of the Tokyo Metropolitan Magical Technical School. With that being said, he would obtain the title of being a special grade shaman, which only speaks to what kind of talent and strength he really has. Speaking of which, he would actually end up being the strongest shaman at the Metropolitan School, second to Gojo Satoru, that is. With both Gojo and Geto being the strongest in the school, it would only be natural for them to take a majority of the missions and actually end up taking their most important mission yet, which would be to escort the Star Plasma Vessel. This moment would end up changing Geto's life for better or for worse. Rikou Amanai would end up having to merge her body with Master Tengen to help preserve the Jujutsu barriers that ultimately protect the entire world of Jujutsu and so much more. However, escorting the Star Plasma Vessel is a lot easier said than done, even for the strongest in the Jujutsu schools. And this would all be thanks to a 3-day bounty set up by Toji Fushiguro, in an attempt to make an easier kill out of Gojo Satoru. During the span of these 3 days, Gojo and Geto would end up becoming attached to the Star Plasma Vessel, but even from the very beginning, they already accepted the idea of going against the Jujutsu schools themselves in case the Star Plasma Vessel actually ended up wanting to no longer be the merger. It makes you wonder whether or not Gojo and Geto really had what it takes in order to take down the entire Jujutsu hierarchy. Were they in over their heads and just being plain egotistical, or were they more akin to reality than what we were all originally thinking? Since you made it this far, make sure to throw the video a like and also hit that subscribe button. Be sure to watch the entire video from beginning to end. Whatever the case may be, it's safe to say that Gojo and Geto were definitely attached during this 3-day period, and unfortunately, their mission would end in a failure. The Star Plasma Vessel would never even make it to Master Tengen. With the death of such an innocent girl, members of the Star religious group would gather around only to celebrate their sudden victory. Master Tengen would no longer have a vessel, which would lead to one of the worst case scenarios for Jujutsu as a whole, alongside humanity. With these disgusting cultists celebrating the death of a young girl, this would ultimately cause Geto's mind to stir, while Satoru would suggest killing all of the cultists. Do you want to? Kill them all. Right now, I probably wouldn't even feel anything. Forget it. It's pointless. From the looks of it, there are only followers of the faith here. The ones in charge and involved with the Jujutsu world are probably long gone. Pointless, huh? Does there need to be a reason? Of course, it's important, especially as Jujutsu sorcerers. Geto ultimately chooses to spare the lives of the cultists that were celebrating the death of Amanai. Now, why exactly would he do this? Is it a sense of duty or something more altogether? A year would pass and Geto would continue to protect regular human beings who could not use Jujutsu. And Geto would continue to remember the disgusting cultists whose lives that he spared. An endless cycle of exorcism and consumption. Exercise. Consume. It's a taste that nobody knows. The taste of a curse. Like ingesting a rag used to wipe up vomit. For whom? Geto would then begin to doubt himself in his current path of protecting regular human beings. What I saw was nothing out of the ordinary. A hideous evil known to everyone. Knowing that full well, I chose to protect them as a Jujutsu sorcerer. Forget it. It's pointless. From the looks of it, there are only followers of the faith here. The ones in charge and involved with the Jujutsu world are probably long gone. Pointless, huh? Does there need to be a reason? Of course, it's important, especially as jujutsu sorcerers. Geto would spare the cultists because he doesn't value their lives. He would ultimately think that he's better than non-shamans. Society should protect the weak and keep the strong in check. You see, Satoru, Jujutsu exists to protect non-Jujutsu users. Geto would put himself on a moral pedestal, and he would see non-shamans as if they are weak beings, and he would believe that they are beneath him, which lets you understand just how egotistical Geto really is. Defending and protecting the lives of people who cannot use Jujutsu would be the sole purpose of being a Jujutsu sorcerer, with people like Geto protecting and saving people from curses. Geto is a follower of Buddhism, and we would know this because of his character design. When we take a look at his earrings, we can begin to understand that Geto is a bodhisattva, which means that it is his goal in life to find enlightenment. And this is what makes Geto's downfall from his path as a Jujutsu sorcerer that much more painful. You see, while being a follower of Buddhism, Geto has to understand the interdependent and transient nature of all living things, ultimately allowing him to be free from all ignorance and illusion. Geto would have to prevent himself from living a lie. Now, what kind of lie would Geto be living exactly? Buddhism encourages its people to avoid self-indulgence, but also self-denial. By rejecting his hatred for non-shamans, Geto would be going against his beliefs as a bodhisattva through self-denial. The part of me that looks down on non-sorcerers. The part of me that tries to resist that feeling. If being a Jujutsu sorcerer is like running a marathon, then the finish line is too unclear. I don't know how I really feel. If Geto continued to protect non-shamans while still secretly having a hatred for them, Geto would be going against his own personal beliefs and ideologies, and also his beliefs as a bodhisattva. If Geto wasn't true to himself, he would go against Buddha. However, while being a bodhisattva, Geto would have to defend and protect the lives of the people. He would have to protect people from suffering, even if it meant that he himself had to suffer. This would not only be the path of a Jujutsu sorcerer, but also the path of a Buddhist. Genuine joy lies not in simply being able to avoid or escape from one's own suffering, but in freeing others from their suffering. Does it even matter if regular people see us? Of course it matters. The containment of cursed spirits is of the utmost importance for the citizens' peace of mind. For that reason, keeping unseen threats confidential is important. Not only that, yeah, gotcha. It's such a pain looking out for the weak. Society should protect the weak and keep the strong in check. You see, Satoru, Jujutsu exists to protect non-Jujutsu users. If Geto had to protect the lives of people that he hated and he wasn't true to his own feelings, then he would go against Buddha. However, if Geto were to no longer protect the lives of the people, he would also go against Buddha. No matter what choice Geto made, he was always going to go against Buddha because that was within his own nature. Geto is a hypocrite no matter what he does. Geto is just simply choosing himself over the people that he's supposed to protect. As a bodhisattva, Geto must live together with all sentient beings, regardless of what hell he may fall into, which would be the vow of the bodhisattva, and Geto would unfortunately break this same vow. by choosing the lives of sorcerers over the lives of the non-shamans. For the most part, Geto had stayed true to the path of the Bodhisattva. However, he fell victim to his own hatred and the love that he had for his fellow Jujutsu sorcerers that continued to die for people who ultimately didn't care about the Jujutsu sorcerers that protected them, at least in Geto's eyes. However, what Geto fails to realize is that there are people that actually do genuinely care about the lives of others. He was crying for his brother who died in front of him. I'm happy that you and I survived. I'm relieved. Despite all that, tears were shed because of the life I took. That's all. Yuji would be the exact opposite of Geto because he would care about every single life, even the life of a cursed spirit. However, when it comes to Geto, he only cares about the lives of those associated with the Jujutsu world. Geto only cares about the lives of Jujutsu sorcerers, while Yuji would care about the lives of every living being. In Yuji's eyes, all lives are equal, while Geto would think that the lives of sorcerers are more valuable than any human beings, even if sorcerers are humans themselves. At least, that's what we're led to believe. Despite standing atop the food chain, humans began to envision even higher beings, thereby creating gods. Laughable, isn't it? Considering Jujutsu sorcerers like us already exist. Geto would believe that Jujutsu sorcerers are the equivalents of gods. He wouldn't be too far off though. Geto would actually know the truth. Buddha was not a god, or a special kind of spiritual being, or even a prophet or an emissary of one. On the contrary, he was a human being, just like the rest of us. With Geto following in Buddha's footsteps, he would believe that he is just like him. Geto would believe that he is a god. More accurately, Geto would believe that all Jujutsu sorcerers are gods. Those curses were able to communicate. I bet there are more out there on their level. And it's not just enemies, Hikari, Okkotsu, and Todo from your school. The students these days have gotten much stronger. Then there's the Suguru Getou incident from last year, as well as a vessel of Sukuna appearing. What are you trying to say? Don't you get it? The wave of power that you guys have been ignoring to maintain your status and in the name of stupid traditions has gotten huge and is approaching. The new generation won't be limited to special grade. With that being said, the new Jujutsu sorcerers of the next generation will be able to evolve past the special grade ranking system. To what extent could they actually become gods due to their powers? This was supposed to be a simple mission to exercise a second grade spirit. Shit, the local faith that thinks a god of this land. This is a case for first grades. As it turns out, cursed spirits are actually gods. And for humans to become gods and actually reach enlightenment, they would have to become cursed spirits. Jujutsu sorcerers are gods in human form. Now, if they were to evolve past that form, they would eventually become a curse. Ryomen Sukuna, with 4 arms and 2 faces, is a demon of legend. The truth is, he was a human who actually existed, but that was over 1,000 years ago. In order to become a god, sorcerers would have to follow in the footsteps of Ryomen Sukuna. Like I mentioned before, Geto would be a bodhisattva, and we would know this from the earrings in his character design. Oddly enough, Sukuna would have these same earrings. However, the only difference between Geto and Sukuna is the fact that Sukuna obtained enlightenment, while Geto did not. Sukuna was a human who evolved into a demon from enlightenment. Humanity has hindered their own evolution. Such utter nonsense. It's about time we take another look at humanity's survival and ultimately become demons. This is the truth that Suguru Getou understood. He knew that by killing curses, he was actually killing people.
But negative emotions, such as hatred and killing intent, those are pure truths. Curses born from such truths are the purest form. We're the true humans.
And by no longer acknowledging the lives of these cursed spirits who are actually people that have ascended to godhood, with Geto's vow as a bodhisattva to live together with all sentient beings, regardless of what hell one might fall into, if he were to no longer acknowledge the suffering of cursed spirits and shamans, he would also forget his path as a bodhisattva. Like I said before, he's simply choosing the world of Jujutsu over the lives of common folk who simply abuse and take advantage of the lives of sorcerers, even though he may do the same exact thing right back. No matter what, I'll always hate those monkeys. But it's not like I hate everyone at Jujutsu High. It's just that, in this world, I couldn't truly be happy from the bottom of my heart. In the end, did Geto do the right thing? He had to choose to ignore the suffering of cursed spirits and Jujutsu sorcerers, or ignore the suffering of regular human beings. In the eyes of cursed spirits, and maybe even Jujutsu sorcerers, Geto would be a savior, a messiah, a god.